11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Roberto won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
And thanks to those joining us live and those who have joined us on the archive, D-Style. You're being joined by the one and the only Roberto Diaz. How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, D-Style. Thank you for having me. It's been a while, but it's always good to be on with you guys.
Absolutely, 100%. A shout out to Kane Mack in the chat. A shout out to you and everybody that's tuning in. Look, a couple of things. If I'm not mistaken, you do work with Lamont Roach, right?
Yes.
All right. And I'm sure you've been asked this a lot, but I just want to kind of dive in a little bit about the whole Tank Davis situation. Obviously there was a rematch. Tank Davis exercised a rematch clause. I seen Lamont Roach talk about this, and then he kind of just decided not to do it. Or went the Jake Paul route instead. Does that pretty much sum up like what happened?
Well, the promoter exercised the rematch clause as soon as the March 1st, a couple of days later, beginning of the week, they exercised the rematch. We were delighted to hear there was going to be a rematch. Obviously, at the same time, we were going through our own dealings of what we were going to do. Commission-wise, we appealed the knockdown and not being counted, and a couple different scenarios that happened during that fight that we felt were unjust, and withheld for him being announced the winner and winning a second division world title. But when we were notified that there was going to be a rematch, that pretty much put the brakes on everything, saying, okay, look, we'll get our chance. We'll get our moment to redeem and to make it right. So on our side, the fight was signed. The rematch was accepted. In fact, Lamont was in camp training.
Sure.
My understanding is also Tank was training and getting ready for the fight. But like in life, like in boxing, it's look, I tell people, and especially because I've been on the promotional side as well, and things happen. It's never done until the bell rings, until both guys are in the ring. And there's even one time that we can all probably remember. There was a couple of heavyweights. They were in the ring. The bell rang, and the guy still walked out and walked in the back of the dressing room.
I remember that. Yeah,
and we didn't get to see a fight because normally there's a saying with us in the matchmaking and the promotional side: as soon as they're in the ring, we could relax. Well, in that particular case, we couldn't. Yeah. But things happen, and look. As much as it bothered us, and I know it bothered Lamont, we can't sit here and cry, and we got to move on with his career, and he has to move on and look for the biggest fights out there. We can't really blame, and I explained this to everybody, including the team when we talked. I said, can't really blame him for taking that route. I'd probably do the same thing if we're in that position, because look, even though it's not for us, the diehard boxing fans, what is now becoming this so-called exhibitions and big fights and this and that, Tank goes in there and does an exhibition that doesn't count on his record and makes millions and millions of dollars. He could still come back and fight Lamont. So he takes 2 big bags. But if he takes the Lamont route, what if he loses in the rematch? There's no Jake Paul anymore. So I think the business part, he took the correct approach. The boxing part, you would like to see the fighters of today be a little bit more like the fighters of yesterday, where
Right.
they wouldn't be doing this. I mean, Muhammad Ali did an exhibition in I think in Asia, um, with the karate guy, but that was in between fights. It didn't become that for him.
Mhm.
You would like to have seen him say, "No, you know what? I'll do this exhibition, but once I settle business with Lamont Roach." Now, keep in mind that Jake was at the fight, and the plan was Tank was going to walk through Lamont, knock him out 5-6 rounds, meet in the middle of the ring, announce the fight for the summer, and then it would have been good.
Mm.
But
Yeah, no one told that to Lamont, right? That
nobody
was
told Lamont that he had to follow a script. And obviously, um, we saw what happened on the March 1st. We're hoping that, look, that if this exhibition goes well and Tank continues his career next year, it'll make the rematch even bigger because Tank will have more eyes that have met him or known him from this Jake Paul exhibition. Personally, I think he'll retire. I think after this, he'll collect some good money and at least for a few years, ride off into the sunset. I hope I'm wrong.
You know, I'm hearing a lot of like that. I'm hearing a lot of like, oh, I get it. Like I guess I would probably do it too. However, just thinking as that diehard boxing fan, someone who loves the sport, you know, there is a little bit of me that's wondering, what about your honor, brother? Because people don't think you won that fight. People know you were knocked down. Then you technically, the ref could have disqualified him, right? Then you, I mean, I make the joke that Lamont Roach wanted to fight 3 times, right? Like he beat him by count out, but the ref didn't finish. He started the count, but didn't finish it, and he should have been disqualified. And I thought he should have won a decision, right? But when you look at like certain fight, like look at Floyd Mayweather. He had a tough fight with Castillo, ran it back, right?
Maidana.
Yeah, like if Brad Pitt just happened to be boxing back then and challenged Mayweather, maybe it would do better numbers than Castillo. I don't know, but I don't think Mayweather would have fought Brad Pitt. Like I think he would have, you know what I mean? I just think he would have done the fight. And you mentioned Maidana as well. Another fight didn't go as scripted. Obviously, I think Mayweather expected an easy fight. It wasn't easy, and he ran it back, right? But I don't see that with Tank. Isn't there some concern that Tank, I think you think he'll go out in the sun, out in the, you know, to the sunset, but because, and I kind of tend to agree because of the way he's talking. You know, I heard him say, you know, he wants to be a good dad or whatever, and he doesn't have that killer instinct no more. And he said boxing's dead. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to be called the face of boxing. I'm just a guy who boxes, right? Like it appears anyway. I don't know if he's just playing this role, but he doesn't have that love of for the sport right now. It just doesn't seem. It seems to me he's just fighting Jake Paul for the paycheck, like and it's reeking out of the screen every time he talks.
100%. I agree with you 100% there. And again, it goes back to I don't know if it's this generation. It's very different. And of course, these young fighters, I'm not taking away their talent. The talent is tremendous with Tank, with Ryan, with Teofimo, with Haney, with Lamont, but they're not all cut the same anymore. And I don't know if it's the social media and a lot of money coming much sooner than Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray and Hearns and Duran had to really go out and do the round robin against each other to become great. And these are guys that, look, 40 years later, we still bring them up in conversations. because they were that good and because they were willing to face each other. And it was more important. Money was always important. That's how they take care of their family, but it wasn't the most important. And today, it's it's somewhat of a Mayweather effect, to have the bling and to have the cars and to have, but to take the smartest way. Now, you did mention Mayweather. Absolutely. He's doing his exhibitions post career. And I have no problem with that. After your career's over, just don't mix it in with your current career. You're a fighter, fight. If not, after your career's done and over with, once you retire, of course, if there's exhibitions and you're still in the face for the fans and giving them entertainment, that's great. That's great. But not as you're active.
Yeah, like I'll just flat out say it. I hate the fight. I hate that Jake Paul is considered this big attraction as a boxer when he's not even in top 25 cruiserweight in the world, in my opinion. Like you know what I mean? It's it's the way I feel about it. But I'll tell you right now, I do think that the boxing fan, like the fans, are different. Like my grandfather wouldn't let any of this slide. Like, you know what I mean? Like, God rest his soul. Like boxing fan, like my uncles. I'm thinking about people that got me into the sport, like my dad. Rest in peace. Like they were just different. Like they were built different, and they thought different, and they expected more from these fighters.
We're old school. We're old school, and we expect blood, sweat, and tears. And just the cosmetics of this fight. How is it going to look? Well, I mean, one guy is going to be close to 200 pounds when he walks into the ring, and at the most, Tank 150, which is going to look soft.
Yeah, but this wouldn't fly in any other sport. Like the best tennis player is not going to not participate in the U.S. Open because some celebrity is now playing tennis and he's going to make more money playing that celebrity for whatever reason. Or, I'm not going to play in the NFL no more. I'm going to go to this league where there's these popular superstars that are not really football players. Like that doesn't even make sense in other sports, but for whatever reason, it's happening in boxing. And I think it's been normalized. I think little by little, even boxing fans are just becoming accepting towards it. Even me to a certain degree, but I just got to be honest. I don't like it and I don't understand it. And I think it's the sport rewarding this stuff is actually hurting the sport in the long run.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Look, I don't blame Jake. Hey, Jake. Hey, in fact, I applaud Jake. He's now taking it to, even though he's a little guy, and it's funny, one of the press conference, he mentioned something about, he's as little. He referenced something about the height, which was funny, but he's going to take it as far as it can go. And now he's taking it to a professional who had amateur pedigree, who's won multiple. So he has been raising the bar for him, which I give him credit. He one day wakes up and says, I'm going to box. Nobody can do that. Not with boxing. This is unlike other sports where it's not a game. You could get hurt. I think he realizes it. From what I've heard, he puts in a lot of work behind the scenes and training. Where the blame has to be is not the Tyson who was retired, not the Chavez who said, I'm not going to make this kind of money fighting anybody else and run the risk of not getting hurt here. But Tank, you're in your prime. You're a world champion taking, again, your second time out. And I'm going to do an exhibition. But look, at this point, if it happens, we wish him the best. We hope many new eyes come in and watch, and then he takes them over if we do get that rematch. And, of course, we have our own schedule. We have to win on December 6th. What better if it's not going to be Tank, the other guy who gave Tank hell. And now it's almost like an elimination to see who can get Tank.
Yeah, I'll say this. Canelo didn't have to do these types of fights to get money. Crawford didn't have to do these types of fights to get money. Like they didn't have to go this route. And I think it's fair for boxing fans to point out, hey, Tank, you could have gotten these big paydays when you fought Shakur. Could have gotten these big paydays. Turkey was willing to pay you a lot of money, right? The Saudis are throwing money around, and they would have paid for a Shakur fight. Maybe there's a reason he doesn't want to take that fight. You know what I mean? I think there was. I mean, it's not like he was making pocket change if he fought Roach in a rematch. He's still going to make money, maybe not the amount that people are saying, and I believe it. Netflix is involved; it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, your actions come with consequences.
100%.
And if you're going to say, well, if you feel the money is worth it, that's fine. However, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear the criticisms. You're going to hear people. You're going to hear the backlash, and that comes with it. And Tank Davis doesn't like the backlash. He doesn't like the fact that people are saying Roach's name, that they're saying Shakur's name. Well, that comes with the territory because you're not giving people what they want, right? You could take the money, but there's consequences that come with it.
You're 100% right, because I think we've seen it in the past. In many circumstances where there was fighters not too long ago fighting once a year, right? Maybe even once every 2 years.
Every 15 months was the thing for some reason.
Yeah, but a lot of them thought that was the smart way, because you know what? It's actually better, less wear and tear. I'm making more money than you are fighting once when you're fighting 3 or 4 times. Then when they're in that position, in those shoes, they start complaining, because what happens the other 14 or if they're fighting once every 15 months, what happens the other 12 months when they're not training? They're getting in trouble, spending money, losing distance, not being as sharp. They show up after 15 months, and guess what? Most of the time they lose. Then they start complaining that that's not what they want. They want activity. So you can't have it both ways. So they start learning by mistakes what's the better route to go. And like I tell many of the young fighters when I start working with them, the best recipe for stardom at the beginning of your career is activity. Yep. Be in front of the fans, build a brand, but also perfect your craft, stay sharp. Because once you get to the top, you want to experience almost every other style that you've gone through and get through them when the big fight comes.
Yeah, look, there's a line from Tom Brady where he says, I spent a long time trying to get ahead of the guy in front of me. And once I got there, I realized there's people behind me that are gunning for me now, right? So I know I butchered that line, but that's his point, right? And if you're only fighting every 15 months, guess what? The guys behind you, they're catching up.
Yep.
Right? They're trying to make a buzz, and then they get angry when people are pointing out hey, why aren't you fighting this guy? He's making noise, and who is he? Well, you haven't been around. You've allowed these other fighters to now get some shine because you're nowhere to be found, right? And that's just the reality of it. But think about the consequences of fighters not fighting often, especially at the top, because everything kind of trickles down. Why didn't we get they're still talking today in 2025 about Boots versus Virgil Ortiz, right? They're still talking about it. These two guys were peers at welterweight for years. All these years they could have fought each other, right? But unfortunately, that was a weight class, Roberto, that wasn't moving. Welterweight wasn't moving. There was no movement. Crawford was relatively inactive, fighting once a year. Spence was fighting every 15 months. So the guys on top, the ones holding the belts, because that's what all the fighters want. I'm sure Ortiz wanted that. Boots wanted that. They want the belts, right? If they're moving slowly, well, these other guys are moving slowly too. There's a negative impact that the rest of the sport feels, really when it comes down to that, when guys are that inactive.
Yep. 100%.
And, that's why for me, activity is a deal. But look at the guys that have really made the money, right? People could say what they want about Canelo, but he's been active.
There was a time frame where he fought 4 times within 12 or 15 months when he wiped out the division and became undisputed. I mean, it was one fight after one fight after one fight. And he threw in a mandatory in between just to get all the belts. I mean, and he was one of the guys that could have said, I'm going to take months off because I'm making the money that I want. But no, he still believed and had a goal for legacy.
You know, that was, I was telling a friend the other day, right? We're talking exactly about that. And I was like, in the year 2021, because that's when that happened, right? Late 2020 with the Callum Smith fight, I think that was in December, but still, like that 2021 year.
During the COVID, yeah.
Yeah, like if Canelo was as active as some of these other guys are, only fighting once every 15 months, every 12 months, he would just have completed all that this year. Like imagine you would have fought Callum Smith in 2021, and then like these other guys, he just doesn't do anything like that. He doesn't do anything until 2022. Then he fights Billy Joe Saunders, right? And they would have waited for him for the payday. They would have waited.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Nobody's going to take a risk if it's going to risk that payday.
100%. So, and then another 15 months, and we could get close to 2024-ish, and he finally fights Caleb Plant for undisputed.
You know, I thought it was not 10, but I'm pulling up Oscar. This is obviously prior to world title. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights in 93.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Look at Oscar 97.
97, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a world champion. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I mean, he was consistently fighting often, which built the Golden Boy brand, created the fan base where a lot of other money comes. And that's what they got to think of. Not just the purses. There's fighters that can be making more money from sponsorships than they can be from fights because of who they are and being active. But if you fight once every 2 years, people forget about you.
And people get mad at me when, look, it's not impossible for me to say someone's the fight of the year. They fight once. It's not impossible, but it's hard to give it to somebody who just fought one time. It's hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to give it to a guy that fought often, at least more than twice, that year. I'm going to favor that fighter over the guy that fought one time.
Or at least fighter of the year. Because fight of the year, okay, he could have been just that one fight, and it was amazing. But fighter of the year, you want somebody that is active and is 100%. Doing things that, are challenging him.
Like, what was it, like 2 years ago? I said Inoue had a great year. He beat Fulton. I mean, he had a hell of a year. And then people were giving it to Crawford. And I said, look, Crawford's win over Spence was great. But he only fought that one time. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, I got to consider the other guy that fought 3 times. And, like that's just the way I see it. But
100%.
It's just what it is. I've been, someone's putting this in the chat, and I've been talking about this for years, but for whatever reason, and you were there at Golden Boy at the time. There's these narratives that people still spew to this day about Canelo, ducking Triple G, which to me is hilarious. But this is the way I remember it. I remember he was new to the division. He fought Cotto. He became the lineal champion. And it was about 18 months later, he signed to fight Triple G. They announced it after the fight with Chavez Jr. Right. Triple G walked out to the ring and everything.
Correct.
Right. Which tells me they were already under. There was already negotiation with Gennady Golovkin while he was getting ready to fight.
It was a long negotiation because there was a lot of the percentage split and a lot of details in that fight. It was looked at as at that moment one of the biggest fights that can be made, and the numbers showed it after. The first fight was huge, the boogeyman, and nobody, but it took a little bit longer to get done because of both sides agreeing to the numbers, and there was never a duck. I mean, there was no reason to. And yes, he wanted to fill into the division. He was coming up from a smaller weight class, moving up, but the fight was being made. It was being made. It was no, not yet. Let me wait till he gets older. And no, not at all. They had sparred years before when Canelo was a baby, and he had reason to believe that when the time came, he knew what he was going to do.
Yeah. And the other thing, for like at the end of the day, people forget Danny Jacobs was in the mix at middleweight, right? And Danny Jacobs, obviously he fought Triple G. Some feel Jacobs won, okay? And regardless how anybody feels about that, whether you think Jacobs won or the rightful guy Triple G won, Canelo fought both of them. Okay, like he fought both those guys. Those were the top two middleweights at the time at that weight class, and he fought the two of them. The other guys that were around, like the Billy Joes, he ended up beating them later at 168. So he pretty much beat all the guys that were relevant in that weight class.
And what a lot of people don't know, they always get on Canelo with these. I hear like the weight, the clauses on the weights, and you can't go. Remember, that was an IBF title fight.
Yeah.
Danny didn't make weight the second day, and he was okay to pay the fine for missing weight on the second day weigh-in. And you know what that told me, because I've known Danny, and he's a true professional and a hell of a talented fighter. But that's how much Danny wanted to win. That he didn't care about paying the fine to not deplete himself to make that 10-pound weight limit. And then you can weigh whatever. But he said, nah, I'm not going to cut this 2-3 pounds that I still am over. I'd rather pay the fine, but I'm here to win. And Danny showed one of his best performances that day.
He did. Yeah, that was a great boxing match.
It was. And Canelo was just, I mean, if you remember how he made Danny miss and the bending he had that night, he looked great.
100%. But like, to me, I just think, although I'm not a big fan of saying, boxing is a business, but it is, right? And I think there's this misconception, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but there seems to be this idea, and you touched on it a little bit, right? That Triple G he would do whatever to get the fight. I mean, he would fight for free, like just to make the fight happen, as if his side wasn't negotiating, wasn't trying to get more money, like they were negotiating, trying to get more money. Obviously, that needs to happen, and there's nothing wrong with this, but they were trying to negotiate more money for their guy, for Triple G. I mean, this idea that, like, people make it sound, Roberto, like Canelo was doing everything to avoid the fight and overpricing himself and getting away from Golovkin. And Golovkin was just there, like, willing to fight for free, even just for the opportunity.
I'll tell you, and this is, I mean, people can believe it or not, but Canelo's one of those guys that says, you know what, just give him what. And it's not just in that particular case. There's been in other cases with just give him what he wants. Let's just get the fight done. If it is one more point or two more points, give it to him. It's okay. I'll get it. There was when the whole fight with Chavez, I spoke to Senior and Herb Jr. We were in Mexico prior to the fight getting signed. It was actually December 31st. It was a New Year's Eve. And we coincided at a friend's house in Cancun. And Junior was fixated, and this is the problem a lot of times, and it has to do with ego. Junior was fixated on percentage. On, a lot of times you feel like it has to be 50-50. And I remember asking Junior why. Well, my name, Chavez, my father. He's not fighting your father, Junior. He's fighting you. and it's like, and Senior was there. And I couldn't really get through to Junior, and I spoke to Senior, and I'm like, look, why is a percentage so important? Well, it's only right, my son okay. And I remember him saying, I can get 50%, I can get that split with Triple G. And I said, that's the problem. You guys are looking at numbers, percentage-wise, right?
Right.
I said, it's not the same 50-50 with Triple G as is with Canelo. Who's going to sell the fight with Triple G and Chavez Jr.? It's going to be the Mexicans. Whether they're there to see Triple G or they're there to see Chavez Jr., it's going to be the Mexican, the majority. I said, so what is that number going to be in comparison to a civil war, Canelo against Junior? I said, because there you have the Junior fans, you have the fans that don't like Canelo join in the Junior fan. It's a bigger fight. And that was my belief at the time. I said, Junior against Canelo is bigger than Junior against Triple G. And I told him it straight out. I told him, much safer for your son. So even if it's not 50-50, the split being less for your son, it's going to be more money than a 50-50 on this side. And he got it. And he said, that makes sense. We talked a little bit longer. Pepe Gomez we were at his house. He hosted dinner and everything. A few days later, the fight got done. And I remember Senior coming up to me the day after the day of the weigh-in. It came over and hugged me. He says, hey, we're here. We got it done. And I congratulated him. I said, thanks for believing in me. But yeah, we got it done. And I did tell him, look, with your son and Canelo, it could be a very close fight. It could be a very close fight. It could end up being a trilogy. So it's a bigger, and of course, they went into the fight believing, hey, we have a chance to win. And like in most cases, Mexican against Mexican is guaranteed war. In this particular case, it wasn't. It wasn't. We failed on that one.
But yeah, while watching the fight, it didn't seem like, ironically, how he was telling you, like, well, you told him, well, he's not fighting your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His dad would have gone for it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he didn't. Like, this is what it is. But someone's asking when the Golden Boy was avoiding and ducking Golovkin for 2 years. I don't know where they're getting the 2 years from. But you don't negotiate the fight the day of the fight. So you have like 5-6 months from when the fight is announced to the actual fight. That leaves you with a year and a half. And then, of course, you're negotiating the fight before that. It doesn't seem that long to me.
No, plus you got to remember those particular type of fights, which are events, have to happen on 2 different dates. It's either May or September. So if you missed out on May or September, I mean, if you missed out on May, September's the bigger date. But if you miss out, then it's those for Golovkin would have been September's. They wouldn't have been May's.
Right. And someone's asking, why did he drop the belt, the WBC, that first time? Like, Canelo had dropped the belt. He vacated it.
Correct. I believe there was that was a while ago, but I do remember the fight being ordered, and if you don't fight him, you're going to be stripped, and basically instead of getting stripped, here's your belt.
Yeah,
but
they
it's almost
were
to the point, like, you're not going to force me to do it. We're still negotiating in it. And I think Triple G, one of the things he had done is he had received a step aside for the Cotto fight to happen. And now he's like, okay, now I'm next. And I'm forcing my position.
Right. Plus, they got it. They got the fight.
Exactly. Three.
I still don't understand what all the crying's about to this day. They're like,
it would have been different if we never got it. It would have been different if
like
we never
literally,
got it.
and then again, like, I'm gonna say this one more time. I'm gonna say it slowly for 92 AQ in the chat. I get that the Cotto fight and the Golovkin fight are 2 years apart almost. I get that. But so after a fight, usually guys don't fight for what, 5-6 months, right? And a fight, when it's announced, it's about 4 or 5 months, and then they fight, right? That's almost a year right there. Just think about that for a second, right? And if the fight was announced right after the Chavez Jr. fight, what does that tell you? It tells you they're already negotiating with Golovkin, right? Even while he was getting ready to fight Chavez Jr.
Correct. He was already, the fight was, of course, if you lose with Chavez Jr., then no fight. But the fight was already in place. Deals were done. That's why he came into the ring, made the challenge. Let's go. I'll see you soon.
It really just seemed like there wasn't that. It just wasn't that long. It just wasn't. Like, you know what it is, Roberto? I think Canelo's activity, people use it against him, right? Since he fights 2-3 times, maybe more times a year.
He should be fighting Golovkin every fight.
Yeah. It's just so like where these guys that fight once a year, right?
It's okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, he only made him wait 2 fights. Yeah, but that's like 2.5 years in some cases. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? But like, how? Because he fought Amir Khan first, and because like they're just getting angry because he fought some other guys first. But the time, it wasn't a lot of time.
But look, today you can fight Jake Paul, and it's okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Timeout.
100%. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But look at like when De La Hoya moved up to welterweight, right? He didn't fight Trinidad right away. Like, oh, right there, fight Trinidad now. No, he fought other guys. Like, you know what I mean? He fought Ike Corte. He fought, Pernell Whitaker. He fought some other guys, and then finally,
you want to, and for any fighter, I mean, it's very rare to jump into a new division and take on the best. That's why, again, I applaud Lamont. Jumped up to the lightweight and fought Tank. But a lot of times you want to let your body settle into the weight class. How come Triple G didn't go up and fight Andre Ward?
Never did it.
Are we going to say he's a duck? No, he was a great middleweight, and we'll keep it at that because he didn't venture out, because he didn't have to, whatever, but he was a great middleweight. Canelo's ventured out. He's gone up in weights. He didn't have to go up again to light heavyweight. He already accomplished the winning the world title there. He did it because he challenged himself.
Also, Roberto, like there's a misconception, right? Because look at the career of Roberto Duran, right? Like the way people talk about it, they make it sound like, oh, he was this great lightweight, and it was, right? Probably the greatest lightweight of all time, in my opinion, right? But they make it sound like he just like moved right up and fought Ray Leonard immediately. Like a welterweight. No, that's not how it happened. Roberto Duran had several fights for about 2 years before he fought Ray Leonard at welterweight. Several fights, right? It wasn't just like a boom, he jumped up and that's it. That's not how he did it, right? Like, so like for Canelo, like he fights Cotto. He has and then like 2 years later, or like literally 15 months later, the fight is signed, sealed, and delivered against Golovkin. It's already done. But people, when people talk about it, they make it sound like he made Golovkin wait like 5 years. Like he made him wait like 6 years. That's just factually, it's just not what happened. And my opinion, people need to stop crying about it. Like they're sounding like whiny little babies at this point. Like it's more about, you're talking about ego, right? Like the ego of Chavez. I think a lot of these fans have egos. It's like he didn't do it when the moment I wanted him to do it. So therefore, I'm going to cry about it for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? But he fought the guy
3 times.
Yeah, he fought and he beat him. It is what it is. Like, I thought he beat him clearly the second time. It's my opinion.
I agree.
But they were so angry about the controversial first fight that they just didn't want to give him credit for beating him in the second fight. It's just, till this day, that's how I feel about it. You know what I mean? But Roberto, I want to talk to you about this. What do you make of all the talk and like TKO coming in, trying to invest into the sport of boxing? It looks like Turkey and the Saudis are kind of behind it as well. There's going to be an amendment to the Ali Act. I saw an interview with Eric Gomez today with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. He said he looked into it, and it turns out what Dana's saying is correct, that the Ali Act is not really going to change for anybody still signed and still doing business in the traditional way. But if you're a manager or whatnot, like, or the fighters are involved with TKO, they're going to have, it's going to work a little bit different, right? What do you make of the idea of a boxing league, something similar to the UFC in boxing? Do you think it could work? Do you hate it? Are you okay with it? Are you agnostic? Just waiting to see how it goes. Like, how do you, and just how overall, how do you feel about Dana White, TKO coming in, doing business in the sport?
So what I've been telling a lot of young fighters, some managers and trainers is, look, any new entity that comes in and does boxing is an opportunity for other fighters that are not signed, that are not getting these opportunities, not getting these breaks with all the other promoters, because there's more fighters than there are promoters. There's so many fighters out there not getting the break, not getting signed. So this is a great opportunity for those unsigned fighters. It's not going to be for every fighter. Why? Because the young kids today in the gym getting ready to go pro, who have been boxing since 10 years old in the amateur ranks, and they're getting ready to go pro, in their mind, in their heart, they want to be the world champion of the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, the IBF. They want to be world champions, that their idols, the belts that their idols once held. They're not looking and motivated to say, wow, I want to be a TKO champion. It's not going to work like that. What TKO needs to do is create, and I'm sure they will over time, create a value to the TKO belt by making champions in their league. And then maybe the generations that come after now have a choice. Where do I want to go? And say one day, I want to be the TKO champion, but it's not going to happen overnight. I do believe it is for some fighters, and I'll give you an example. The fighters that today are on their last leg of saying, I need to go out and make some money. I've been a world champion already. I've held the WBC belt. I've held the WBO belt. Now I need to go make money because I don't think I can win. I mean, and this is for the team and everything, because a lot of times the fighter's not going to say, I don't think I can win a world title. But it's for those fighters that maybe are past that, where they can go in and maybe they get grouped into a division that everybody else in that ranking, in that division, is still too green, that they become the TKO champion and they can still make some good paydays from it. So for that, I'm all for it. Look, it's more opportunities. Again, let's say I have 20 fighters. Not every fighter is going to be signed to Pro Box or Matchroom or Golden Boy or Top Rank. So this gives me an outlet to say, hey, guys, look, these guys are available. Here you go. As far as the Ali Act and the changes, I don't like it. I don't like it, first and foremost, because you're coming into a sport that, and you're making changes to our sport. Get in a little bit. It's very different if you have if Top Rank tomorrow says, want to make these changes. Well, shit, they've been around for 50 years. But adapt to our sport and then start making the changes. Not right away come in and say, okay, I'm changing your sport because your sport sucks. Then why are you coming in? If it's that bad, why are you coming in? Now, you're coming in to fix it. Okay, great. Show us how, little by little. But and maybe that's what he's doing. I just believe that there could be a sense of, I can't have the Ali Act here and have to disclose what the Ali Act says you must disclose, because that could create a problem in my UFC. if you're running two different businesses, one can affect the other. So it's better that they're both on the same set of rules where they don't conflict and that you don't start having fighters ask too many questions.
Yeah, I think like I'm okay with the fact that fighters are going to have a choice, so they don't need to go to the league, right?
Correct.
It-
Correct. For
it-
those that don't go
yeah,
to the league, correct, then it doesn't apply. If you're still under a matchroom, a golden boy, a top rank, however, if they amend it, why are they amending it for one? They probably are going to amend it for the others. I know one of the things they're
Hmm.
trying to amend over there is the sanction bodies, but that's one of the biggest points in the Ali Act is the promoter can't create their own ranking system and how they have. So that's the problem about eliminating the sanction body.
I think what's happening, Roberto, is I think for a lot of boxing fans, they've lost like can I say it? They've lost faith in the sanctioning bodies and the rankings. Like when I look at the rankings and I see a guy rank one, like I remember Virgil was like one in the WBC, and then overnight they just snuck in Keith Thurman as number one when he hadn't even fought for like 3 years or whatever. And I remember looking at that saying to myself, what the hell was that? How did that happen? Right. And then and you see, guys just end up in the top tens and people don't really I'm sure there's reasons for it, but it's they're just like all over the place. You wonder, well, why are these certain guys ranked, but these guys aren't? And I get that there's different sanctioning bodies, but boxing fans in general like don't really have a lot of faith and trust in the sanctioning bodies, right? And I think it's well earned that they lost that trust. To be honest with you, a lot of
There is
favoritism
it
and
is confusing for them, and I mean even for me that's in the sport with so many titles, but that has a lot to do with network promotion
mhm,
because network at one point started saying we want more titles.
yeah,
Promoter says, okay, hey, sanction body, I need more titles. I need a title here. I need a title there in my main event. Can we get a title? Okay, you have Americas, you have Fed Colors, you have so the titles started being born. But it was because promoters needed it for the networks. I think that's confusing. Obviously, too many champions. Again, back in the day, everybody wanted to be a undisputed. Um,
yeah,
that's where it turns it off. One thing that I saw that they want to do, I'm hearing they want to do at TKO is back to the original 8 divisions, one champion. So keeping it more simple, and I think that'll work again for that younger crowd, which if they gain them,
right.
it's our gain as well. But if we go, it's again, why did we get to where we are? And now we want to go back. And I'm not saying because of TKO.
I
I'm
guess what I'm trying to get at is when people don't have trust in the people in charge, it makes it easier for somebody to come in and give people hope, right?
100%. And there's always hope that something could come out of it good. And again, it's going to give more opportunities for fighters that are today not getting the opportunities. But the fans, and I applaud them in this particular case, are always saying the fighters deserve more money. Even when they're getting paid a lot of money, oh, they deserve it. They deserve it. Their life's on the line. Okay, I'm not going to put a price, but they have to remember it's a business,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to make more as a promoter than what you're spending. So how can you overspend or pay these persons that the fans say they deserve, or the fighter or the manager deserve? Well, you got to be a champion, and that's what started forming interim champions and silver champions and gold champions and four champions in each division. Well, that's given the fighters more opportunities because if you only had one, which would be great, guess what? The other 3 that could be champions wouldn't be making the money that they're making today as a world champion. So it's one or the other.
Well, I mean, obviously, none of it's going to be an easy fix. But I will say this: I always think about, because there's something that, like, I watched the interview that De La Hoya did with Ariel Helwani, right? And I'm not saying I completely disagree with this. I'm sure all promoters think this way, but he basically said, "Look, you need to develop the fighters," which I agree with, right? You need to develop the fighters, and once they're ready, then you make the big fights or whatnot, right? But I don't know. I have to be honest. I personally don't like the idea of promoters. There's only a few dozen of them. It's not like a lot of them, right? And they're matchmakers or scouts or whatnot, picking ahead of time. Oh, that guy's so good. Ese es mi gallo. Ese vato right there. That dude, right? And they pick a guy, and then I'm gonna groom him, and we're gonna protect him, right? We're gonna take good care of him because he's the future. And when he's ready, oh, he's going to be a superstar. We're gonna and then we're going to do the big fights, right? Well, how long is that wait? And what about all the other guys you didn't handpick? What about the guys that weren't lucky? Because I think about the guys that accidentally broke into the scene, right? I think about Marcos Maidana, who probably wasn't expected to beat Victor Ortiz, right? Victor Ortiz he looked like a superstar, right? He looked like he was going to be the future. He had to look like he just looked like the next Oscar De La Hoya, right? Marcos Maidana came in and he just probably was very underestimated. Comes in, beats Victor Ortiz, and now Marcos Maidana's in the mix, right? I think about Ricardo Mayorga, who probably wasn't expected to be Vernon Forrest, right? But he burst into the scene, did his thing. I know for a fact Manny Pacquiao wasn't expected to beat Marco Antonio Barrera. Like, he was just supposed to be another guy that Barrera was going to beat, right? Mm-hmm. And look how massive Pacquiao became. Look how big of a superstar he became. Nobody handpicked Manny Pacquiao as a young gun. None of these promoters handpicked him, right? So, and the reason I'm saying all that, right? And Crawford, nobody looked at Crawford and said, "Oh, that guy. Oh, that's the future right there," right? Tim Bradley had a sparring session with him, and he referred him to the top rank and told him this guy's the goods, right? So I'm thinking about like all the talent that's undiscovered, all the talent that nobody knows about because they haven't had the shot, right? They're working part-time as a mechanic or a firefighter or whatever they're doing, waiting for their opportunity, right? Because no one picked them and said, "Oh, this guy's a future star." And I think something that can move faster, keep guys active, get all these prospects and all these contenders to all fight each other, right? Without protecting them, because whoever the top dog is, I mean, it's going to come out on top regardless, right? It may not be the handpicked guy. It may not be the guy that a promoter thinks is going to be a superstar, right? Nobody thought Crawford was going to be the superstar, right? But there's too many guys out there, in my opinion, that are just wasted talent that we never discovered. There could be a guy that gave up on boxing 5 years ago that could have been the best fighter we ever seen,
but he didn't get a break.
Yeah, he didn't get a break.
Correct. That's one thing that the league will do, is because they are not bringing in somebody to groom your young talented fighter. Mm-hmm. They got both sides, so they can't lose.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, one, you may get better decisions because there's not favoritism. Not that this guy has to win or that guy has to win. Whoever wins, wins, which is already a step in the right direction. So at that point, whoever wins deserves the win. And that's what will make it better, because they're not looking to groom a young kid into a superstar. The superstar's gonna come out even with a 5-5 record because he beat everybody else.
Yeah.
And he was willing to fight everybody else.
Yeah, because there's something Oscar said in that interview that like it sounded good, but then I took a step back and I wait a minute, like because I'm thinking as a fan,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
And he said, "Oh yeah, like they were doing this contender series where these contenders are fighting each other, and it doesn't make any sense because they're beating each other up, and you're eliminating someone who could potentially be a world champion in the future, right?" Well, guess what? If there's two contenders and one contender beat the guy that may have been a champion in the future, right? I'd rather the guy that beat him win because I want to I want to see everybody fight each other. I want to see whoever comes out on top come out on top. Like, that's just me because I think
Well, a good like what you're saying, and I think we saw it. Not two of the biggest names,
hmm,
but Mabili against Lester Martinez, which was a hell of a
yeah,
fight. And if the decision, I mean, I thought if he would have closed a little bit more towards the end, or if it would have been a 12 rounder, Lester might have edged, taken it. Now you have a whole country, the first guy out of his country, Guatemala, to be a world champion.
yeah,
Now you have like the Manny Pacquiao representing the Philippines. Now you have a whole country proud because you weren't supposed to, maybe, or you came out of
mhm,
nowhere and boom, here you are. And I think that's the story that's always made boxing great is the Manny Pacquiaos that came from nothing and became a superstar because he believed. That's the beauty of boxing.
yeah. I just think, and this isn't a knock. Like, look, a good promoter, a good matchmaker, and I know you were a matchmaker yourself, but like if you're doing your job right, right? Sometimes I just feel like there's guys that slip through the cracks,
Oh, 100%.
and and
100%.
and and if you're like, well, you were a matchmaker, if you have tunnel vision because you're focused on your guys and developing them, you're not you're not worried about everybody. You don't have time to worry about everybody, right? But like I just think like a league that keeps it moving. And look, you get your opportunity. You're gonna get some fights, and if you lose, you lose, and if it's over, it's over. I mean, that is a tough break, but at least it's a shot, right? At least
Look,
it's an opportunity.
one of the things that traditionally boxing has, where the managers don't want the fighter to lose, makes it hard
Mhm.
on the matchmaker and the promoter to put fights
Right.
together because if he loses, I might get cut or my purse is going to drop. And if his purse drops, my percentage drops as management. Trainers, job security, we don't want him to lose because then he gets cut. By doing this league, you're basically guaranteeing these guys, and I mean, I haven't read the fine line of the contract that
Mhm.
win, lose, or draw, you're still involved. You're still involved
Right.
because they still got to keep rotating. This guy loses, he comes back. There's set purses. If you lose, if you win, if you move on, if you're in the top 5, if you're in the uh, top 10, based on how you get paid. But knowing that you're not going to get cut
Mm.
is very important because that's the insecurity of, man, if I lose, they're going to cut me. And then what? And then what? So, in order to not get cut and not lose, you're playing it very safe. But one thing when I was matchmaking is I didn't care, and I said it from day one. I don't care about building a pretty record. I want to build champions, and if that means go 18-3 versus or 18-2 versus 20-0, but when I get there, my guy's gonna win because he's been through hell and he's groomed and ready. I prefer it that way because
Yeah. Yeah.
coming from the old school of boxing, all our fighters, all my favorite fighters lost. I mean, Arturo Gatti was one of the favorites of all the fans, and he lost many times. But we always tuned in to see him because we always knew what we were going to get,
Yeah.
you know, versus a lot of the guys that are protecting that, protecting and not taking those challenges. So I think we will, again, this is good for the opportunity of a lot of these fighters that haven't been signed You can't sign everybody. You're right. I focused on a lot of the guys that didn't make the team, the Olympics, or didn't make the U.S. team or the Mexico team. I always focused on the guys right below them that lost in the finals, because those guys were hungry and wanted to prove something, and they weren't as expensive. And the
Right.
other guys that won already came in with this aura of, oh, I'm the shit, so you got to pay me and throw out the red carpet, and I want a car, and I want this, and I want that. A little bit more of the diva.
Yeah, like look how this whole thing plays out, right? Like if they do it right, I think they're gonna find some tough talent that's gonna be a threat to a lot of guys. But there will be like a moment of truth, right? Like at some point, the inevitable is gonna happen, and that's gonna be the guy that was a TKO or Zuffa champion or whatever they're gonna call it, right? Is gonna end up fighting someone that's like known as maybe the WBC champion, right? And then we're gonna find out, like you know what I mean. If the WBC champion goes in and just beats the hell out of the Zuffa guy, right? Well, people are gonna say, well, yeah, there's levels to this. Obviously, in the real boxing over here, like this, these guys are too good for these guys fighting in Dana's league. But if the Zuffa guy beats the guy holding the traditional belt, like I think that would be a complete game changer, like in the entire sport.
Oh, eventually it'll happen. Eventually it'll happen. You're gonna have a kid, like you said. You're gonna have a kid that went through the cracks, didn't get picked up, becomes that champion over there in the TKO league, but it's a hell of a fighter. And then all of a sudden he's coming in and probably fighting a champion that's not the strongest in the division. And of course, there's that possibility. Or even if he is a champ, the strongest in the division. I think we'll see both sides. I mean, because again, I've seen it in the past when companies were signing left and right, even opponents they were signing, and it was like, man, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna find opponents? Where we're gonna every day, there's a new kid putting on the gloves and saying, I'm ready to go pro. Put me in, coach. I want a shot. And those are the kids that you give opportunities to, and they're gonna have the opportunities over there, and that's gonna, you know what? It's also going to light a flame in the promoters on this side that need to pick up their game too, so that at the end of the day, the fans are going to win and boxing's going to win.
I want to ask you this. Were you with Golden Boy when Maidana fought Ortiz?
Yes. Yes.
Do you remember like the process of Maidana being picked as an opponent, and I don't want to word it this way, but like it all going wrong? Because I'm sure the plan was for Ortiz to win.
Absolutely. Ortiz was being groomed as that next kid, as that next face of boxing, as the next Golden Boy. Like you said earlier, he had a lot of talent. He had the look. He could speak very well. He can convince you.
Yeah. Had power, yeah.
Maidana came. I want to remember that he wasn't the original opponent, and something happened, and last minute Maidana came in, but it was, if not an eliminator, it was something important. But I did remember somebody that I, to this day, have all the respect in the world as far as knowledge and who the person is it Mr. Akihiko Honda from Taken Boxing, telling me before the fight, I saw him at a fight. I believe it was Linares in Laredo. And it might have been the same day, actually, when Linares was fighting in Laredo and Ortiz and Maidana were fighting in LA, that Mr. Honda told me, this is a couple hours before, why did you guys pick Maidana? And he knew of Maidana. He knew of Maidana. Maidana had a very tough loss, a controversial loss, and he knew of Maidana because of the WBA. And I said, I didn't know of Maidana. I mean, as the matchmaker, yes, but that was a fight that really HBO, I believe was the broadcaster, had said, okay, these are the names we'd accept. Boom, main event. This is who it is. And I'm like, why, Mr. Honda? He's that good? Yeah, but Ortiz is he's ready. He's ready for this. And outside, look, the fight was entertaining. You had knockdowns on both sides. I think somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. Unfortunately, that night it wasn't Ortiz who won, but had Victor not done the speech after, everything would have been good. I think if Victor would have said the best man won tonight, but you know what? I want a rematch, then you still have a star, even bigger than Maidana, because a lot of times it's not the guy that wins that goes on to become a star. Maidana went on to become a hell of a fighter and beat Broner and had many good wins and was huge in Argentina, but he wasn't a star in the States. Where I think Victor could have still become the star, because you get up and you come back and come back stronger. But I think it hurt when Victor I'm too young to be taking this kind of punishment or something like that. And that close was like, oh my God, no, don't say this right now. That was a
I know a lot of guys that I even have some cousins that were like, I'm done with them. Like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like,
because you don't want to hear that from the kid or from the fighter that you're backing, and that, hey, you're okay if they lose.
Yeah.
But
Mexican fans will still back you up even after loss. Like I had Oscar Valdez on here, and he said after his loss to Navarrete, he was like hiding in his house. He didn't want to come out. Like, you know what I mean? And he had to like leave the house at some point. And he said that like he was overwhelmed with all the praise, people going up to him and calling him a warrior. And now if he would have said, I got to think about this, like I don't know if I want to do this. I shouldn't be taking punishment like this. Like almost like making you feel guilty for watching him get beat up or something.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously through the years, and look, there's a lot of love and respect for Victor, but it was somewhat of a
roller coaster.
No, it was somewhat of a trademark with him. I want to say that you see it every once in a while of someone who's used to his way. When it doesn't go his way, he's lost. And I always compare it to when you're a bully, Mike Tyson, somewhat of a bully. Everybody's afraid of him. But when somebody stood up and said, I'm not afraid of you, Holyfield, then all of a sudden he backs down. Because I'll remember again, and years later, he's having his way with Josecito. And he's beating up Josecito.
Yeah.
And Josecito in one round, sort of like, I remember him hitting his waist, hitting it, and almost saying like, balls out, bro. Come on, let's go now. And it was like, oh shit, this guy's not ready to go. And Victor starts boxing a little bit more, backing up a little bit more, gives Josecito that I'm getting, gave him confidence that I'm getting back into this fight, hits him with long range because he's outside now, not inside, beating him up, breaks his jaw, and then we have that fight going against him. So you saw it. I mean, that one time that I was happily surprised, and it was great for Golden Boy at the time, for us and everything. But when he fought Andre
Berto,
that was a war.
He got up from a knockdown, and
correct. And that day he was not going to be denied. But in other days it's hit and miss a lot of times, and it's hard because again they're human. They're the fighters get in there, but there's some that have this no die attitude, and there's some that it's like, hey, you know what? What I always say is the first time is the hardest. They become easier with time.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. So somebody says that cost him the Canelo fight. Yes, it did.
It's funny because I saw, yes, Canelo was sitting in ringside. He was supposed to fight him. That was the next fight, which was going to be, it was going to be a big fight. And I saw an interview recently. I don't know if it was an old interview or a recent interview, but he basically, and that's him.
Oh, where he said that you guys were protecting Canelo from him. Or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah. Where he would, he always wanted Canelo, and he was protecting. It was like, okay,
Yeah, he did another interview saying that Golden Boy was always trying to set him up, and that he went to a fight and he got on the scale and you guys told him to go leave because you didn't want him to see who his opponent was. I'm like, well, it's not even possible.
yeah.
What are you talking?
I think that was. He said that was like one of his first fights or something like that, or it could have been his first fight. I mean, the only reason you would say leave is, okay, your opponent didn't make weight. He's going to have a couple hours to go cut it. Go eat. But you're not going to tell your fighter to say leave. He didn't. He said, I remember now. He said he didn't know who his opponent was until he got into the ring.
Yeah, like what? Give me a break.
Like, wait a minute, bro. Come on.
So like your trainer didn't know who it was. You're like, come on.
You had to have done a face-to-face at the weigh-in. You had to. I mean, no way. There's no way.
Yeah, he also told the story of what happened in the Mayweather fight, and it's totally wrong. Look, it's and we have it on camera. Like, I mean, it's just.
See, that was one of those. I remember Oscar asking me prior, do we have a shot? Does he have a shot? And I said, it depends on which one shows up. If he shows up, me vale madre, body, I'll hit you low but I never expected the headbutting and I wanted to see
but
a little bit of a dirty guy, rough.
Yeah, but here's the thing, right? See, there's the dirty tactics of Victor. This is my opinion. It looked like he wanted a way out.
Yes, that's absolutely it. That's absolutely it. And see, Mayweather's so smart because if you're gonna be hard off, you're gonna take it to the street.
Yeah.
And take it to the street. But when he did what he did, and then went over
hugged
and kissed, and I'm sorry,
and touched gloves.
That's when Mayweather said, "Okay, you're not so rough and tough. I got you." And then took him, boom, got him.
You know why I say that? Because you know who roughed him up? Maidana did. But Maidana wasn't looking for a way out. He was trying to. He was trying to
make him get uncomfortable. Yeah. And that's what he needed to do.
But Maidana threw a knee. Like, he threw a knee at me. I'm like, you're throwing a knee, bro. What's going on? But he bit him. Like now Mayweather was covering his mouth now. Like he shouldn't have been doing that. But Maidana was like, well, if you're going to cover my mouth. Oh, wow. And then he bit him.
Yeah.
But he wasn't looking for a way out.
Maidana was who he portrayed to be. It wasn't an act. He was like, you want to get down? Let's get down. And
like a lot of guys, like the tattoo with a gun on the waist, like it's like a lot of people have that tattoo now. I think Maidana's the first guy I saw with that. That's him. Yeah, like he's that outlaw with that. Like that's him. He's gonna try to win this fight.
The good guy was Lucas. The bad guy was Maidana.
100%.
Yep.
Man. So look, this has been a great conversation. So much more we could talk about, but. We'll kind of leave it at that. I agree with you with the whole Victor Ortiz thing, and I wanted him to become a star, but
100%.
It wasn't meant to be. But the reason I brought that up is, well, to me, those are the stories that maybe they're not what the sport wants, but it's what the sport needs, right? And the guys like Maidana who slipped through the cracks, and sure, Honda knew about it, but you guys like Golden Boy didn't know about it, right? Because if you did know what he knew, maybe Maidana doesn't get a shot, and we never see Maidana beat Broner. We never see Maidana in all those wars he was in. We never see Maidana give Mayweather one of the toughest fights of his career. And Maidana doesn't, get to have those great big pay. He never gets a shot.
I'll
Right?
give you another example. D-Style, I'll give you another example. Mauricio Herrera. This is
Yeah.
a kid that would have stayed in the circuit of Southern California.
Mhm.
He was brought in as an opponent to fight Danny Garcia.
He won that fight.
And I remember him telling me when he was signing with 6 weeks to go, because he was coming, his contract that ended with Thompson Boxing. He came over. He says, I need the big fights, the big money. I said, okay, well, Danny Garcia in Puerto Rico. 6 weeks to go. You think you can make it? I'm taking the fight, and I'm going to beat him. Those were his words. And I remember clearly, I mean, he's one of my favorite guys because he never turned down anybody. Throwback, not a big puncher, but fought like a puncher because he'd engage and just go toe-to-toe. And I remember I said, look, Mauricio, as long as you give 100% and give a good fight, it'll still open up doors for other fights for you.
Yeah.
But I wanted to take some pressure off to say, you don't have to win, but just give me a good fight. And he turned around and he looks at me and he goes, I'm going to win. And that's one thing that I've always taken to heart, that a fighter that believes he can win is a dangerous motherfucker. Hey, Lamont Roach, when we were discussing the Tank fight, I'm going to win. I am him. I am that guy. And look, he showed it on March 1st. And every time a fighter tells you, I mean, because a lot of times the fans hear it, the media hears it. Nobody comes on and does a press conference says, I'm here to lose. They're always here to win. But when they're telling you in their immediate circle and you see the confidence, Barrera, you mentioned him earlier. Barrera with Nassim Hamed was very confident he was going to win because he believed. So I've learned through the years that when a fighter's confident, give him the blessing, give him the backing, and let's go, because you have a confident fighter is a dangerous fighter.
Sometimes I don't like to read too much into what fighters say, but sometimes there's times like now this wasn't like a big fight. It was on the MVP card. It was a female fight. And Desi Robinson against Logan, I forget her name, the other girl. So Desi Robinson, like, I'm gonna win. She's not gonna take what I earned, and like that's how she's talking. And the other girl, like, she didn't say anything wrong, but I didn't like what I heard. And she said, "I'm already a winner. Just the fact that I'm here, I'm already a winner in life."
Weekend. That was this weekend.
Yeah,
she's
like, there. I'm already a winner. I'm a winner in life. And I said, she's gonna get knocked out. She's not like, and I bet the knockout because she lost in the second round.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you need to see it in order to do it, in my opinion, in anything. You know what I mean? Like
100%. I was there at that fight, and I there were two big girls, strong. I was in the dressing room. I had Jessica Neri Plata. She fought in the main event for the world title. We came up short. I thought it was closer. I thought a draw could have been just, but proud of both of them. Two Mexican females on the main event for the zone on MVP in the U.S. and made Mexico proud and made boxing
great fight proud.
Yeah, it was a good fight.
I thought Neri Plata won, but that was close.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did too. But she had some obstacles, almost 2 years out of the ring, personal reasons, and still a hell of a fight. No excuses. Hopefully we can do it again. But when I saw the highlights of the fight you're talking about, I was like, oh man, the other girl, just the champion. You're right, because she said she's not taking away what I've earned. This is going back home. Yeah, and like she was very convincing. Very convincing.
Yeah, and the other girl said, basically, I'm just happy to be here. Well,
wrong answer.
That's it. Like what?
Yeah.
Like if I'm the champion, I'm like, they're talking like that. Like, man, like, okay, like it's all right. you know.
Mhm.
So I see it. Like, I couldn't imagine Crawford before a fight saying that, like, "Oh, I'm just happy to be here," or Lamont Rhodes before the Tank fight. "I'm just happy to be here," I'm already a winner in life. Like,
You
all
know,
right,
it's the Crawford fight, and
Mhm.
and I told Crawford this a while ago before the Canelo fight was made. I walked up to him. I don't know him personally, um, but I went up to him and I said, "Man, you remind me of the fighters from the '80s. You're one of the only fighters
Yeah.
that I can match up in these fantasy fights and that comes out ahead over beating guys from the past. And you
Mhm.
remind me a lot of Marvin Hagler. You're that guy with that chip on the shoulder who can switch stands. You're that good. Keep up the great work. I wish you all the best." And I'm a Crawford fan. Now the fight's made with Canelo, and I went on record and I said, I don't like the fight. And people are making too much of a thing about this weight class. Great fighters in the past have been able to go up in weight and win. Leonard did, Hagler, Mayweather did, De La Hoya did, Canelo did.
Canelo did.
Why can't Crawford do it?
Mhm.
Oh no, it's too much of weight, too much of weight. I said, don't be surprised if Crawford's the bigger guy come fight night. And I think he did look like the bigger guy. In fact, I saw Canelo a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller, and I
Mhm.
thought, okay, he's going to be quicker and faster. But I always said before the fight, I didn't like the fight for the mere fact that if Canelo wins, oh, you beat a little guy. And if Canelo loses, you lost to a little guy. No, you didn't lose to a little guy. You lost to a great fighter.
Yeah.
And that's why I kept saying before the fight, stop emphasizing on the weight. It's who's going to win is going to be the better fighter.
Yeah. And look, if I've been saying for years, Canelo's a little guy fighting big guys right now, right?
100%. A
And how
hundred.
do we know that? Because as soon as Crawford asked about Benavidez, that's a big dude. Like, well, why
Yeah.
would like,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? So obviously, like, Canelo's like, to me, he's actually a middleweight fighting at super middleweight, but so while I do still think he's like wider, he has a bigger frame than Crawford. Right?
Mhm.
Crawford's taller, but I think most people underestimated or overestimated the size difference,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like, he wasn't going up to fight a natural 168
Correct.
pounder.
Correct. The difference, like when Canelo went up to fight Triple G, he went up to fight a middleweight. He grew into a middleweight.
Yeah.
Same thing. But it's not like Canelo's a natural middleweight. He came up from from welterweights as well. So um, it was just, I mean, I give it all to Crawford. He fought a brilliant fight. I remember at the end of the fight, remembering Leonard and Hagler.
Mm.
It's like how he did. He fought the perfect fight. He stole the rounds. He outworked in the later part. He fought a brilliant fight, and that's a brilliant fighter.
I saw Eric Gomez on the 3 knockdown rule with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez. And I agree with it. He said he still thinks Canelo beats Benavidez.
I do too. I do too. I've
So
said
do
it in
I.
the past. Style wise, it's the perfect style. I mean, no knock on David. They've done a hell of a job, and he's strong, but he's the perfect style. When you come forward and trying to knock Canelo's head off, he's a counterpuncher. He's a
If,
natural counterpuncher.
if you were still with Golden Boy and Canelo was still with Golden Boy, theoretically,
Mhm.
right? Would you guys have made that fight happen with Benavidez already?
I mean, it really depends. Look, there was fights when he was at Golden Boy, when I was at Golden Boy, that I told him not to take, that I was
Mm.
against. And
Lara. Yeah.
Lara, Trout, um, never, it was never this for the fans. It was never Triple G. I was never worried about that one. It was the style of Lara and Trout that I didn't like. Um, and that's what made him want it more. It was those guys. No, this is who I want, and this is who I fight. So with him, it was always easy because he basically did the matchmaking,
Yeah.
and in a good way of no, this is who I want.
I guess the reason I'm saying is because it doesn't seem like anyone was steering the ship towards the Benavidez fight. I think there was a missed opportunity. I think that would have been a huge fight. Like that fight it's like a mix of like Chavez versus De La Hoya and De La Hoya versus like Vargas.
I still think, I mean, obviously, depends on what Canelo wants to do, if he's going to continue or not. If I was any say so there, I was like, you've achieved everything. It's been 20 plus years as a pro, all the sparring, all those. It's a lot of wear and tear. It's time to ride off into the sunset and call it. But or take your last fight and retire. Something tells me that's not going to happen. And I still think that fight is still possible and would be bigger today than it would have been then.
Oh, yeah, because there's a redemption story there.
Correct. And people now know David of who he is. He's more accomplished. Back then, Canelo beats him, doesn't get the credit again because, who was he? He was unknown. He hadn't done. David's accomplished a lot right now. He's the monster. He's big. He's strong. He's knocking everybody out. Now if you beat him, it's like, oh, and that's a fight that, hey, I would do at
I just think
like a stadium.
Yeah, like I'm looking at the last 3-4 years, right? I think that if Golden Boy was still what Golden Boy was, and you were there, and Eric Gomez, obviously still there, and Canelo's still there, like I just think enough people would have been in Canelo's ear, like that's a big fight, and you're gonna knock his ass out, you're gonna beat that guy, right? I think the fight would have happened.
Well, today Turkey has the checkbook. He's David's going to be in Riyadh in a few weeks.
Yeah,
let's see what he says.
Which is not a guarantee, by the way. I'm picking him to win, but Yard could crack.
Yard's strong, and he's going to come forward, and it should be a good barn burner. And look, David is not a one punch knockout guy. He's accumulation, breaks you down. So it's going to be entertaining because Yard goes the rounds. He doesn't get knocked out in 1 or 2 rounds. It's going to go rounds. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a good fight. And I think we'll see a lot right there, especially in this division.
Roberto, 20 minutes ago, I said we're going to wrap this one up, and then we got more into the conversation. So we're going to wrap it up with that. But don't want to take more of your time. And I hope you've enjoyed the conversation. Hope to have you back. Any final words you want to say before we wrap it up?
No, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. Don't miss out on Xavier and Ray Bocanegra. They fight on Pro Box on the 7th of November. They're both with Eddie Reynoso and the team in San Diego. And then, of course, December 6th in San Antonio. We'll see you all there when the pit bull gets tamed.
Oh, man. There you go. I forgot to ask you about that fight, by the way, but we'll talk about it closer to that. You have a great one, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care. God bless.
Peace, everybody.